Hey, what's going on everyone? Greg here, and as you can see right in front of me, we have the brand new entry-level 13-inch MacBook Pro complete with a touch bar. They actually got rid of the function keys on every single MacBook Pro, and now even the entry-level has a touch bar for $1,299, the same price as that old Escape keyboard, and it also comes with that new Butterfly keyboard, which should hopefully fix reliability issues, and a brand new quad-core processor. Now this is the base processor on that unit, so I want to see how well that runs on an entry-level $1,300 computer, but hopefully it does run well. So for this video, let's obviously unbox this thing, and then we will go into some of those benchmarkings and see how well this thing performs. And as you can see, we have the brand new MacBook Pro in the space gray configuration. So let's go ahead and open this thing up. So now we obviously get a nice little pull tab here that's gonna help us open this box way easier. So let's go ahead and lift the lid on this. And then we are greeted with our entry-level 13-inch MacBook Pro. So let's go ahead and lift this up. Of course, you can see that we have a USB-C to USB-C cable, a nice pamphlet here with all of the documentation, and of course our USB-C power brick. It's a 16-watt power brick. But that's pretty boring, so let's go back to our MacBook Pro. So again, this is the space gray color. I got the configuration with 256 gigabytes of SSD storage, the base 1.4 gigahertz processor, and just 8 gigabytes of RAM. I really wanted to test the bare minimum entry level minus the SSD storage. If you watch any of my videos, I always tell you don't get that 128 gigabyte SSD, but everything else is the base configuration. So of course the MacBook Pro only weighs about 3 pounds, so it's a very nice lightweight laptop. Of course you do have the things like the headphone jack right down here, and unfortunately for the entry-level configuration, you're only getting 2 Thunderbolt 3 USB-C ports. If you got one of the more expensive models of this MacBook Pro, it would have an additional 2 ports on the other side. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. So let's go ahead and open this thing up, and now I'll just power this on and get back to you later. Okay, so I opened up and set up the MacBook Pro, and I've been using it for a little while now. Another change to this entry-level MacBook Pro comes in the form of the new Butterfly keyboard. So this is the 3rd generation Butterfly keyboard with that slight revision in materials that should help the stuck or repeating key issue. It's a little too early to say if the problem is fully fixed. These computers with the new generation of keyboards haven't been out on the market for all that long, but so far I haven't heard any reports of these getting stuck or getting the repeating key issue that plagued some of the previous versions of the Butterfly keyboard. To me, they still feel very much like the regular old 3rd generation Butterfly keyboard, but hopefully that material is fixing this issue. The biggest change to the entry-level MacBook Pro keyboard is that it now has the touch bar at the top. So previously, for that $1,299 configuration, there was a function key row up here. Apple decided to bring the touch bar across all of its MacBook Pro lineup, which is interesting to me. If anything, I thought that maybe the touch bar would be on its way out for the next generation of computers. I didn't think it was that popular with people, but Apple seems to be going with it. Maybe they're gonna offer some more improvements down the line. And maybe now that it's on an entry-level computer, more people will get the chance to use it and see if they like it. I would say the biggest win for consumers isn't the fact that the touch bar is now on the entry-level MacBook Pro, but that it also contains Touch ID, so now you can unlock the entry-level with just your fingerprint. Another thing to note about this new entry-level MacBook Pro is that it now supports the True Tone display, which the old entry-level MacBook Pro, the one with the function keys, did not support. And with that True Tone display, you're still getting an excellent Retina display on the MacBook Pro. And if you're looking at this versus the new MacBook Air, this MacBook Pro is actually a little bit better in the screen department because it gets up to 500 nits of brightness, and it also supports the wide spectrum P3 color gamut, so you're getting slightly better colors on the MacBook Pro, and you're also getting a brighter screen. And those are the more outwardly changes to the new 2019 entry-level MacBook Pro. Now, what I want to know more about is that processor inside of this machine. Now, this does come with a quad-core 1.4 gigahertz processor as standard, where the old MacBook Pro, the one with the function key row, only came with a dual-core processor, and for some people, that just wasn't powerful enough for a laptop with the MacBook Pro name. So let's open up our favorite standard CPU benchmarking tool, Geekbench. And as we run Geekbench, we can see that as Geekbench is done, we're getting a single core score of 4,463 and a whopping multi-core score of 16,866. And this score is shockingly impressive. For reference, the $1,799 2018 version of the MacBook Pro has a lower multi-core Geekbench score than this new entry-level $1,299 model. And yes, let me repeat that for you, the old 2018 MacBook Pro, which wasn't released too long ago, this entry-level $1,299 model is outscoring last year's MacBook Pro that retailed for $1,799. So for $500 less, you're getting a better CPU than that old 2018 model. This time I want to open up another processor benchmarking tool, so I'm going with Cinebench R20. So as we run Cinebench, you can see that this is a very processor-heavy benchmark, and it also gives us a good indication of just how loud this MacBook Pro is going to be under stress. So I want you to hear the fans right now on this thing when it's under a tremendous amount of work. And as you can see, like other MacBooks, when this thing is working hard, you can hear the fans wind up. So as we finish out Cinebench R20, we get a score of 1,524. If you compare that with the $1,799 2019 MacBook Pro, that gets a Cinebench score of 1,779. So again, another nice benchmarking score for this new entry-level MacBook Pro. This thing's actually living up to its Pro name. And if you compare these scores to the last time this model was updated in 2017, you're getting some really nice performance increases over that older model. It's almost a night and day difference. For our last benchmark, I want to load up the Heaven benchmark to test the integrated CPU on this MacBook Pro. This MacBook Pro comes with the Intel Iris Plus Graphics 645. So as you can see, as we're running the Heaven benchmark on medium, we're getting around 30 frames per second pretty consistently. Sometimes it does go above 30 frames per second into the 45 and sometimes even 60 frames per second area, and some other times we're getting some major dips during particularly intensive parts. At the end of the benchmark, we get an overall score of 830 with an average FPS of 33, a minimum FPS of 7.8, and a maximum FPS of 61.5. Again, this MacBook Pro doesn't have a dedicated graphics card, so these are kind of the scores we can expect out of this 13-inch model. Okay, so I spent a little bit of time with the computer, I ran a couple of benchmarks, and so far, based on my first impressions, again, this isn't a full review, but based on my first impressions, I am really impressed with this entry-level $1,299 MacBook Pro. We're getting a big increase in performance when it comes to CPU power from the old 2017-inch version. We're getting some nice other upgrades with that new, more reliable, and overall better typing experience on the 3rd generation Butterfly keyboard, and we're also getting some display improvements like the True Tone display. But again, I'm going back to that CPU performance in this machine because this is a MacBook Pro. The people who are buying Pro machines need higher performance than people who just need a standard laptop where they're web browsing or just watching videos. And CPU performance in particular for people like developers or video editors is something that's really important to have. So this entry-level machine finally giving us respectable scores, especially compared to that 2017-inch model. This actually feels like something that you could recommend to someone who is maybe going to school or maybe starting out their professional career. You don't have to tell them to buy the $1,799 version, and you're also getting some additional benefits now with the entry-level model. Apple did bring down the Touch Bar and Touch ID into this model, so you're getting a lot of improvements for an entry-level MacBook Pro. So again, just to reiterate, at first glance, I am really impressed with this machine. I think it's going to be an easy recommendation to make, but I still want to have some more time testing it out, seeing how it handles video editing, seeing how the battery life performance is, and just some overall other tests of using it day to day that benchmarks wouldn't really reveal. So those are my first impressions, really positive for this machine. If you have any more questions about this machine that you would like to see addressed in a full review, be sure to leave them in the comments below. If you want to support the channel in any way, maybe purchase this MacBook Pro, make sure you check out some of the links in the description. If you like the video, make sure you give me a like. If you want to see more from my channel, again, including a future review of this 13-inch MacBook Pro, make sure you're subscribed. And as always, I will see you all in the next video. Take care, everyone.